Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. So we are going to talk about the three ones. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and do this now. My plan is to make this time slot, which is I believe 6:30 Pacific Standard Time on Saturday. I'm a day ahead of you, so tomorrow. So Saturdays at 6:30, we're going to start doing that weekly live. So start planning that in if this is important to you. All right, today, what are we talking about? We are talking about the light body, achieving the light body using this lightning Qigong, which I'm sharing with you, which to my knowledge has never been revealed before to the public. And this is an ancient practice from the Maoshan Taoist tradition in China. And this stuff has been kept secret for a very long time. And achieving the light body means that you are able to get the cells of the body to vibrate on a higher level. And according to the things I heard from my teachers, as well as the things that you find in the mythology, the legends, that when the frequency of the cells of your body has reached a level that is equal to that of infinity, then you phase out of three-dimensional existence, and all of the things associated with Jesus walking through walls, rising from the dead, all that kind of stuff. So it's important that we talk about the three cauldrons, the three dantians, as they are referred to. So we've got the third eye, the heart, and the navel. And these are associated with three powers. And we're going to be talking about that today. And understanding it's more than just working on these energy centers. So one of the practices that I actually teach, and I'm on the verge of teaching a new streamlined version of this practice, which was taught and practiced by the ancient Maoshan Taoists, is the practice called holding the three ones. So according to many different spiritual traditions, there is a trinity. You can call it the three dimensions, you can call it the Trinity, you can call it Odin, Vili, and Ve, you can call it heaven, earth, and man, you can call it mind, body, spirit. I don't care what you call it. But there are these three ones, these three powers that govern three-dimensional space-time existence. And we have those three powers within ourselves. In fact, it is believed that that we are the three powers, these three centers within the body. I talk about this all the time. Shamanism all over the world talks about this, the three selves, the three centers. But in order to achieve the light body, moving towards that goal of becoming an immortal, achieving perfection, achieving whatever word you want to use, then the idea is to get these three centers to a frequency that matches the three ones in the external universe. When those two things come together, when our frequency is matching the perfect frequency of the three ones in external objective reality, then that's when the light body experience happens. That's when, according to the Taoists, you rise up in the light of the noonday sun and you fly up to the heavens. Doesn't matter what imagery you use, we're talking about the same thing. Now, it's okay not to have achieved ultimate perfection, because there's a lot of cool things that you can accomplish along the way. Obviously, I haven't achieved that perfection because I'm still in this physical body that you're able to hear and see. So I'm like you. I'm on the path with you, trying to achieve my perfection. Now, it doesn't, it's not like Christianity, where if you don't achieve it, you're going to spend an eternity in hell or anything like that. So this is something that every human being can accomplish. And so the practice that I'm teaching here in the 90-day challenge, you can go see it clicking on thunderwizard.com, click around for Warrior 90-day challenge. I have been laying the foundation for this, which has to do with using the three energies of Qi, which I share with you in the Qigong practice, the Kundalini, which I share with you also in the, if you just click on that and you subscribe, you just click the play button and you just do the three exercises with me. Not three exercises. There's a morning practice, a midday, and a night practice. You don't even have to think about it. You just click play and do it with me. And even in the first two levels, which we've got, we're laying the foundation for that. We're using the Qi power, the Kundalini, and the heart mind, which is something that, to my knowledge, the energy in that has not been given out publicly that I've seen. So we're combining these three things, and then what happens is you unlock the powers of these three centers. And so this is the path where you start to raise the frequency of these three centers so that they become more closely aligned with the objective three ones in the universe. But even if you haven't accomplished that perfection yet, along the way, all kinds of really cool things start to happen. And you have a lot of changes. So we're going to be talking about that today. So I've shared with you in previous videos that when we start working with the lower center there, which is, you can see the Qi power, life force energy, and on the right there, sorcery magic. That's just a fancy way of saying this is the power base. This is where you get the power, the raw power to create the universe. In your lower self, which is where the lower self is here, and then there's this cauldron in the lower self. The cauldron is where, when you're doing energy work, this is why, even in yogic practices, even if you go to be a singer or something, they'll tell you to focus on the diaphragm and to breathe from the diaphragm. And in Qigong practice, martial arts practice, you're always brought back to the navel. So normal traditional Qigong says that the navel center is where the real focus is. And that is because this is the first level of power. It's just raw power that allows you to not only be healthy, just on the, just the basics. You learn how to get health into your body, you balance your body's filled with life force energy. But you also learn how to create physical reality. So this is done in this lower center of, what most people just call the Dantian, the cauldron. But there are three cauldrons, not just one. But you have to start with that one. So this is why we spend a lot of time grounding the energy. Whenever you do any of the practices that you see anywhere here or on the free channel here, if you've done any of the practices, you'll notice that at the end I always have you put your hands on your navel center and focus on grounding the energy. The basic practice that anybody can do, which is free to anybody, is the Hool breath. And as you know, that also is essential in grounding the energy in the navel center. So you can search for that on YouTube anywhere. Just type that in, H-U-U-L, breath. Yeah. All right. So what we're going to be doing is talking about, as we have been, I've talked a little bit about this first level of the lower Dantian, the lower self. The lower self has the personality. So all of your psychological makeup is in your lower center. This is your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind. This is your personality. This is all of your thoughts, your beliefs. This is the programming that allows you to be human in this lower self. So everything that you think, the story that you have about yourself, my name is so-and-so, I came from here, I feel passionately about this, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I believe in this, this happened to me as a kid, I'm, whatever the story of who you are, that's all just it's a story. It's a story that fuels your avatar. It fuels your your conditioned self that allows you to play your part in this three-dimensional video game. When you play a video game, you have to get an avatar, and the avatar is of a certain race. It's an elf, or it's a troll, or a dwarf, or it's a shaman or a warrior, or whatever it is. And so you have to have a backstory, and that gives your character certain abilities and limitations. And so that's how if you don't have those specifics, you can't play the game. Doesn't matter. You have to have the avatar. You have to log in, get the avatar, and pick the avatar and play the game. And you have to play by the rules of the story. So you have one as well. And this is what ghosts are. Ghosts are not the trapped souls of dead people. Ghosts are the lower selves with all of the name and the history and who I am and what drives me and all of that kind of stuff. That is what happens when somebody dies tragically or dies quickly and is not able to integrate as they leave this realm. Then what happens is that lower self gets squished onto this three-dimensional plane, and it flies around thinking it's the person, and it's not. So you aren't that either. You are not that. You are beyond that. But unfortunately, you can't just simply deny. You can't just say, oh, that's just me and that's just my ego. You hear the word ego thrown around a lot in, new agey spiritual stuff, and I have no ego, and I've destroyed my ego, and I've demolished my ego, and that's just denial. That doesn't mean anything. You can't do that. You actually have to have this, and you have to be fully aware of it. You have to be fully aware of who you are, and at the same time be fully integrated. This is what the Kundalini is about. Kundalini is about integrating your lower self identity with your infinite spiritual self. The Kundalini acts as a medium that sort of keeps them fused together so that you can walk through life and play your part and be who you are, and at the same time be fully aware of your infinite nature of the soul, which is none of those things. So the first what we've been doing, if you've been on my channel, to any degree, pretty much up until this point in my teaching, we've been focused mostly on cleaning out and balancing this lower self. This is why I spend so much time talking about getting rid of your victim mentality. This is why we spend a lot of time on critical thinking. Critical thinking isn't just a practical tool to be a scientist or to be practical in reality. It's actually a spiritual tool that is absolutely necessary in order to separate your attachment to the story that you have in your lower self. Once you begin to detach from that story and change the story, have the power to change your character, take away the limitations, add more strengths, and realize that it's your avatar that you're working with. When you get to that level, then you start being able to tap into power. Then you start being able to tap into magic. And the first level of that in the 90-day lightning Qigong, which is we're just about to get to, is you start to really gain power in the lower self. Power to create reality. Power to become a magician, a sorcerer, a wizard, manifest your reality. you start to really go into that multi-dimensional ability here. Again, you know, people, I really go hard at people who want to escape this reality. You know, some people are trying, like some of the things I'm saying, people are wanting to, you know, what does that mean? And this is and they're asking me all kinds of questions about, you know, something that I've said, and I get annoyed because I can tell what's happening is they're trying to escape. They think that spirituality is escaping three-dimensional reality, and that's just not the case. Three-dimensional reality is an incredibly powerful vortex. You see, here's the nine worlds, including the center. This is what the 9 dimensions, the 9 worlds are. We live here. And you can see all of these dimensions are feeding into this 9th dimension, which is governed by 3 dimensions. Right? 3-dimensional reality. You can replace the word dimension with world. These other 8 worlds. You can escape to any one of these if you want, but that's like, you know, you've got only one of your 9 magical energies coming at you. It doesn't serve you. Wanting to escape 3-dimensional reality doesn't serve you spiritually. It only it mutes you. It keeps you regressed. Especially if you're trying to leave this reality because you think that another dimension is more spiritual, and you'll be more spiritual if you go to, you know, whatever it is. This is what you hear in the, you know, the New Agey twin flame, where they talk about living in 5D. It's just another way of denying your reality and wanting to escape. There's nothing spiritual about it. A truly spiritual person says, no, I want to be here in this nexus of 3-dimensional reality, and I want to become multi-dimensional. I want to be in all 9 of the worlds simultaneously, here. This is what we're learning how to do. So this is why you've got to get over all of the nonsense and the garbage and the victim mentality and the, you know, all the crap that I spend all this time. I did some videos, 3 or 4 videos about politics, which, you know, I have no intention of repeating because, you know, we've passed through that. And I talked about critical thinking, and people thought I was talking about politics, and people got upset. I lost a ton of subscribers because they were of a particular, you know, political bent, and they weren't listening to what I was teaching, which was, let's apply critical thinking here. And critical thinking is incredibly important for you to be able to do what I'm talking about, which is to have your internal 3 ones, the 3 powers within you. Those 3 powers, the frequency of that has to vibrate at the same level of objective reality, which is the 3 ones in the objective universe. And when those 3 ones line up and your frequency matches the frequency in objective reality, then boom, you become a perfected immortal. If you don't know the stages, just to be able to know what objective truth is, to be able to separate your emotional attachments, your emotional agendas, your fears, your unconscious programming, if you're not able to become aware of that, you're not going to be able to accomplish this goal of achieving enlightenment, achieving the light body. This is done in all 3 of them, but we're starting now in the lower self. So as we talked about, the lower self is the power of from 1 to infinity, which means that from one action, infinite numbers of subsequent actions can be taken. From one action, which includes thoughts, which includes intentions, which includes beliefs, which includes assumptions, as well as physical actions. From one action, there's another infinite numbers of things and actions that can be taken. On the passive side of it, any external situation that happens to you, or anybody does something to you, there are infinite numbers of reactions to that. This is the power of creation. Because the way creation, the universe came into being, there was emptiness, which is pure potential. The emptiness became the one. That's the Big Bang, where everything consolidates and then explodes into reality. From the one comes the two, which is the splitting of yin and yang, matter and antimatter. And from the two comes the three, which is the three ones. That's why the three ones are seen as controlling everything. This is why the Christian religion has imposed the Trinity onto Christianity. Because if you read the New Testament and you read the Old Testament, which is supposedly the basis of Christianity, there is no Trinity. It's imposed because our European ancestors couldn't tolerate the thought of there being a creator that wasn't a Trinity. That's why they have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Odin, Vili, and Ve. Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu. Mind, body, spirit. This is something innate. We know that the universe is governed by a Trinity. From the Trinity comes the five elements, the five expressions of energy, the five movements of energy within manifested reality. And from the five elements comes infinity. So this first level that we are just about to embark upon is tapping into this lower energy center where we operate from the understanding of from one to infinity. And from a martial perspective, because it comes from an esoteric practice that was used for fighting demons with your bare hands. The only way to do that is to tap into this lightning energy, which I talk about so much. The lesson of that was from 1 to 10,000 hands, which means from one hand to infinity, which is the same thing. From one movement of your hand, there's infinite numbers of options that you can do. From one movement of an opponent, they come at you, you have infinite numbers of responses, and it's like this continuing infinity. You're not it's giving you the ability to be unlimited in your fighting, whether you're fighting demons, whether you're fighting humans. But when we take that back to its fundamental roots, which is the energetic practice of the lower self, then you start to understand how you are infinite. Now, the only way that you can be infinite in your interactions with three-dimensional reality is if you have mastered the story, which is in your lower self. So the lower self, again, has all of your psychological makeup, who you are, where you came from, what you believe, what's important to you. I am this, I believe in that, your assumptions about reality, everything that you've been programmed with by your parents, by your past life karma. This is in your lower self. So that means you're limited. You're limited by your story. Now, unless you realize that your story is just that, it's something that you've chosen. As long as you realize it's something that you've chosen, then you can be infinite, because you're not bound by the limitations of your story. You're not bound by the limitations of your avatar that you've created. In order to be in physical reality, you have to be limited, because otherwise you can't function. But it's a choice. This is why there are no victims. Anybody here who wants to talk about being a victim, wants to talk about how they did it to you, etc., etc., this is why I come after you. And people think that's spiritual. They think they've tapped into something spiritual because they want to, whatever it is, whether it's the cadre of elites that are running the world, or whether it's baby eating reptilians, or whether it's the false beings of light. Somehow people think they're spiritual because they've become hip on some hidden thing, and that's part of your makeup. That's part of your limited psychological programming that is your lower self. As long as you believe that, you'll always be a victim. There won't be an infinite number of reactions. You will have a finite number of reactions, and you'll have a finite number of actions that you'll be able to take because you are bound by your limited personality. That you didn't realize that you created this so that you could have fun in this limited reality. You forgot about that. You bought into the illusion. You bought into your own illusion that this world is limited and I'm a victim of this and they can do that to me, and you bought into it. And so now you're stuck there. So this is why we have to do the work. It starts with critical thinking. Critical thinking assumes that you are governed by your emotions. Even if you're so intellectually divorced from your emotions, you're still being driven by them because they're forcing you to be just in your intellect all the time, which most Westerners are. We are emotionally driven creatures. We respond to everything emotionally. And if we accept that about ourselves, then we go, so there's a possibility I might be seduced by my own emotions out of reality. Because if I'm attached to a certain outcome, I'm not going to see objective truth if it doesn't serve my emotional needs. So if you're aware of that, then you go, physical reality might not be what I want it to be. I'm prepared to let go of things that scare me or make me unhappy. And then after that, you then ask yourself 3 questions. When is something true or false? Most people only get that far, black and white thinking, and this is the thinking of an infant. Infants think in black and white terms, and they're very emotional, so most people don't get beyond that. But the truth is nothing, almost nothing is 100% true or false. The next question you ask is, when is something sometimes true and sometimes false? Notice that there are 3 questions there. 3 dantians, 3 dimensions. When is something sometimes true and sometimes false? Or when is something partially true and partially false? And when you have the good balance and you can answer all those questions without any emotional attachment or any emotional agenda, then you'll be able to know what objective truth is. You won't be like most people now who say, well, my feelings are, well, I think, well, in my opinion, about things that need a yes or no answer, because there are things that have a yes or no answer. Is the world flat? That's a yes or no answer. Did Donald Trump win the election? That is a yes or no answer. Your feelings are meaningless. But if I say that to you and you get upset when I tell you that your feelings about it are meaningless, it means that you're still trapped in the infantile black and white need to have your feelings be your reality. And then many people will go into denial about their feelings because they know being emotionally wrapped up in things doesn't work. And then you end up with a bunch of Westerners, it just, I could go into it. It annoys the crap out of me. It happens all the time on the channel, especially new people come in and they come in with their assumptions, and I have very little tolerance, so I'll just like mirror back their assumptions, and we don't do that here, and then they get all bent out of shape. And they take it personally. They think I'm attacking them. It's like, no, we're not playing that game here. We don't do that here. All right, so that's what we're going to be working on in the upcoming 3rd level. I'm going to be giving you some very powerful physical energy practices that are going to give you this, tap you into this power of the lower self, which is the power of from 1 to infinity. So if you notice, those of you who are following, again, thunderwizard.com, Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, those of you who are already following this, you already know that what's starting to happen just by doing these exercises combining the three energies of Qi, Kundalini, and heart mind. When you're combining these things, you're starting to become aware of a lot of emotions that are coming up. You're starting to become aware of your fears. You're starting to become aware of, things that anger you. You're starting to become aware of sadness. Maybe you have to have a crying jag here and there. Or you realize how angry you are about such and such. And, you're starting to become aware of your projections. You'll meditate and you'll come out with this feeling of, I'm so angry at this group of people for doing that. And then you ask me about it and I say, yeah, that's your projection. So now you're seeing the story. Somebody recently, I won't get too into it, but somebody recently said, I did the practices and then I had a bunch of feelings about this particular political belief, and very strong feelings about it. And I said, that's your projection. So that's what's going to come up. You're now becoming aware of the limitation of your story. I'm this, I hate that, they're doing this. That's your story. So now you have to go beyond that, and then you'll have the power to make infinite choices to anything. And now you have the power to create, and you'll end up having a lot of power in the body, because what it does is it taps you into the power of the lower self. The lower self is the power, what most people consider to be spiritual power that don't get into the heart mind. So if the traditional Qigong path, they never tap into that lightning, I can't say that they don't really fully tap into the lightning power of the heart center. But what they will focus on is the power of Qi, which is the lower self. So if you want life force energy, you have to free up space in your hard drive. So your lower self is your hard drive. You have to free up RAM in your hard drive, and that comes on a psychological, mental level by becoming aware of what your story is, your backstory, and then being able to change that by looking at your attachments, letting go of certain things, opening yourself up to new ideas, to new levels of being, to new assumptions about who you are and what you believe and your relationship to the universe. And when you do that accurately, you start to then create more and more space on your hard drive, which equates to more and more life force energy. You can look at life force energy as RAM. The more RAM you have, the more ability your computer has to do multiple things or work with, complicated programs, the more power you have to achieve magic in the physical world. So we could talk about that, and we will continue to talk about that. Let's move up to the heart mind. So you've already heard me talk about what the lightning power is. If you haven't already, watch some of my previous videos about lightning Qigong. This is the power of the Shin, the heart mind. The heart mind is called the Emperor's bodyguard. This is a feminine energy that surrounds the soul, and it is made of lightning. This is its power. So this is something that we tap into when you do any of these exercises, even the exercise that I'm going to be giving you, which will be connected to the lower self of power. We're still going to be taking energy from the lightning of the heart mind. You don't have to worry about it. You don't even have to intellectualize about it. If you just follow the directions, I'll tell you to put what hand where and how to flex the tendons in a certain way and how, what to do. And then what will happen is that will go through the meridians to the heart center and tap into that. So the heart center, as you know, is this feminine fire element that has consciousness and is surrounding the soul. Imagine the soul being an infinite point of light right here, and here is all of this lightning which keeps the soul in a safe place so that it can stay within the body and be multidimensional and yet still be functioning in three-dimensional reality. It's the most powerful energy within the body surrounding it. So what happens when you move certain fingers in a certain way and move your palms and, if you did celestial Qigong, you've already tapped into it. You're opening up meridians that go straight in there, taps directly into that energy. That energy, that infinite energy that surrounds the soul, now is in your physical body. And so you'll have a lot of heat in the hands, and you'll have even more access to the chi power, and it's a whole different type of energy. Now, I didn't know this. 30 years ago when I was training this, my teachers didn't know any of this. They just had mastered the practice, and they had the energy, and they knew what to do with it. But when I asked them what was different about it, they would give me, wasn't what they were saying was untrue. It was just so out there that I didn't know, what to make of it. Truth is, I found out they didn't really know what to make of it either. I've come to find out that the specific exercises they were doing was working with a completely different meridian system, which is why even though you still tap into chi energy, and there are some things that are the same as traditional Qigong, traditional energy work, there are some things that just weren't the same. And I could very easily go from my practice and do traditional Tai Chi or Qigong. In fact, I could do it better than most people who've done it for years, but they couldn't automatically come and do what I was doing. And I couldn't understand what that was about. Now I know. It's a completely different meridian system. And so unless you've been trained on how to move the body and move the hands and the fingers and everything else in such a way to stimulate those particular meridians, you'll never directly tap into it. So that's what we're going to be doing. And when you, even when you do the first level, which it's going to be level 3, but it's going to be tapping into the lower dantian specifically, that power center. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel an energy you may not have felt before. And it's probably going to be fairly intense. But now you can be working with me, and I can tell you, this has taken me 30 years to figure this out, and I've had to make mistakes and learn it the hard way. And I believe I have an understanding that even my teachers didn't have. And so I'm going to be there with you to hold your hand to let you know, okay, here's what you do with this power. Here's how you apply this power internally. Here's how you apply this power in your life. Now let's take it to the next level of your manifestation. You'll be more aware of what your limitations are on a psychological level, which would be Kundalini. You'll be more aware of what your limitations are in terms of your beliefs, all of that. It'll all make sense. Everything that I've been teaching you up until this point about how to understand reality, why critical thinking is so important. Now you're going to have a direct reason. It's not going to be about who's right or who's wrong anymore. You won't want to get into intellectual arguments with me about nonsense, because there will be a carrot in front of you, which will be this power. And if you don't let go of certain beliefs and certain patterns, that power won't be available to you. So you'll have a motivation to let go of positions you've been holding on to, beliefs that you've been holding on to, or things that you couldn't see beyond. You'll go through a transformation. There might be some challenging experiences, but the power that you will get will be far worth it. And you'll see, anybody who's worked with me, you're listening to me right now, if you've worked with me and done, especially if you've worked through the 90-day challenge and or the celestial Qigong, then you know that you might be going through some different feelings, but your life is objectively getting better. You're going to run into some resistance, so that's okay. Your unconscious mind, your lower self, the limitations of your lower self don't want to die. Nobody likes to die. You have consciousness in there. It's going to want to stop you from moving beyond that because it thinks it's protecting you. So you will run into some resistance. But it's just like anything else. If you keep working at it and if you stay consistent, then the resistance will diminish until it fails. And then you'll move up to the next level. So that's the it's the third level of the 90-day challenge, but it's the first level of really working with these 3 dantians. Second level is working with the heart mind. So when you're working directly with the heart mind, you have to look at the mirror. Now, I've been talking about the mirror dimension, and a few people have really gotten off on what is the mirror dimension, and I want to go there, and I think I went to the mirror dimension, and you're overthinking it. The heart center is the mirror dimension. You have to look at yourself. Lower self, you're looking at yourself, but more from a structural perspective of here's my belief about this, and here's my... Now you actually have to face yourself. And you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to face your dark side, your mirror self. If you've got a hidden psychopath in there, you're going to have to meet him. If you have, like me, kind of also, along with my hidden psychopath, I had to find out that there's actually a very warm, caring, squishy, lovable person in there. My feminine side. That was really difficult for me. I had to face that I had this feminine side, that I was actually very tender and sweet and nurturing and all that. I know you don't see that on the channel here that much, but I had to tap into that. And that was not something that tough guys did. But I also learned if I wanted to really have that heart, that lightning power coming out of my hands, which at that time I was all about becoming an invulnerable martial artist, demon fighter, So I wanted that energy. I was willing to do whatever it took. I was willing to die to myself at whatever level in order to get that power. So I had to tap into this idea that there's a lot of soft, feminine, stuff within me, and I had to embrace that. That didn't feel good. Where I grew up, you got beat harder. The more compassion you had, the harder they beat you. So that didn't. That wasn't something I easily accepted. So that's what the mirror is. The mirror is looking at yourself without any any filter. A lot of you think you're doing that. Trust me, there's levels that you haven't even begun. When I teach this physically, like when I teach the actual art physically one-on-one with people, first thing I do is I sit them down and I say, okay, so you want to learn this? Here, you need to understand that if you go into this, it's going to completely transform you, and it's going to be very frightening, and your whole world's going to come apart. And you'd be surprised how many times people say, oh yeah, no, I've already done that. I've already looked at my shadow self, and I do that all the time. I do it, and I know you think that, but trust me, there's stuff beyond what you think. No, I'm going to be fine. Trust me. No, I'm 100%. I'm with you. Let's go. And I'm like, okay. Then they end up running away. A lot of them. They can't handle it. They think they've looked at themselves. But there's a level of looking at yourself here with this lightning power that is ruthless. So this is what the mirror side here, and this is the realm of transformation. In that it's called the set itself is called the butterfly set. And so I'm going to have to teach a reverse engineered aspect of the butterfly. I'm actually going to teach the beginnings of the butterfly in the first level, which is going to be level 3 of this. So that's coming up. So you'll get a feeling of the power of the butterfly. Butterfly is incredibly powerful. In fact, it's really the gateway. Anyway, I won't get into that. I'm already confusing it. But the butterfly comes from the Taoist poem, I think it's Chuang Tzu, who said, I dreamt I was a butterfly dreaming I was a man. Am I a man or a butterfly? Am I a man dreaming I'm a butterfly, or am I a butterfly dreaming I'm a man? That's the mirror. that mirror, the butterfly, the two sides. So that's the second part, which has to do with the heart center. The heart center is about the mirror. Then we go up to the third dantian. We go up to the cauldron of the third eye. This is the cauldron of the immortal. So then we're going to get into if you want to look this up, you can, the Cien, which means immortal. And you could use it as wizard, sorcerer, magician, spiritual master, whatever it is. But this is what this third eye is all about. It's becoming an immortal. The ability to go beyond all limitations, to be able to, travel to different dimensions, to see how time works. We live in space-time. What's interesting is that I've been doing some research this online from some of the latest understandings from physics about what gravity is. So, if, like me, you thought that gravity was a result of mass. The more mass there was, the more gravity it had, and gravity was this force that pulled people to it. And I'm finding out that's not what gravity is. Gravity is a result of the warping of space and time. And it's actually it is the warping of time that creates your experience of gravity. What is holding me in the chair is actually the time differential between my feet and my head. The time differential. Time is going slower up here than it is at my feet. And even now, those of people who think that the world is flat, the satellites that are, necessary for your map apps on here, they actually have to calculate the time differential in order for you to get to where you're supposed to go, because the way it works with the satellite and the time shift between the satellite and the surface of the Earth actually has to be calculated for. Otherwise, your map would send you miles away from where you're supposed to be. So it's, anyway, I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's just this amazing idea that gravity is the warping of time. So the point of that is that there isn't a linear time. There isn't one fixed linear time. It does not exist. It's your perception. And so there isn't a past, a present, and a future. And when you start opening up the third eye, you start to see that. One could speculate that's why people whose third eye is open is why they know what future events are going to be, what happened in the past. Because all those things are illusions. Very interesting stuff. So that's the Cien, the immortal. And this is, when you start dealing with this kind of energy, I actually have to be careful, because every time I put my hand up there, there's some exercises I'm going to be teaching about how to use your hand to open this up. But even if I just bring my hand this close to my head, I can start feeling this is the lightning energy. This is the kind of stuff that you can have coming out of your hands as time goes on. All right, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm happy to take any questions. This is a question and answer, so I'd like to keep the focus on here, lightning, Qigong, focusing on these three energy cauldrons here and what we're going to be coming up. I am happy to take any questions as long as it's related to the subject and related to what I teach. The way this works is you ask me a question, and a question is you think I have the answer that you don't. It's not anything other than that. And you do anything other than that, you're going to piss me off and I'm going to make you pay for it. But bear in mind, even just asking the question in the right way, being that my third eye does what it does, I'm going to very likely want to get to the root of your question and help you answer the question you really want to ask. I'm also going to be just who I am. I'm going to look at what your unconscious issues are, and I'm going to mirror them back to you. Don't take it personally. That's just what I do here. Having said that, let's go ahead and take some questions. So, Vincent.thunderwizard.com is one of my certified astrologers, and that is his website. If you want to get an astrological reading from him in the style of Vedic astrology that I teach and I practice, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. You can go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com, and get a reading from him. Let's see. Native Psychic Services. Question. What do you think about superconscious mind? Well, we talked about that. That's this upper thing here. I think I already answered that question, at least from the beginning. So that's would be this, what we would call the higher self. How would you know if you achieved it? So I'd like, a lot of people ask these questions. How do I know when I've achieved this? How do I know when I've achieved that? That's like asking, somebody asking, how do I know if I have an orgasm or not? I mean, when you have one, you know. And if you don't know, probably means you haven't had one yet. But I also want to get rid of the idea that that means anything. I know it's important for a lot of people, on your name you've got Native Psychic Services, so that's obviously important for you. I'm not saying that, you can't, everybody's psychic. Just for that reason that your head has a different experience of time than your feet. Just that in itself, creates things where people can be psychic. And it's another reason why people go to mountaintops. Because in mountaintops, time goes by more slowly. You have a different experience of time. It's imperceptible because it's so small. But we all can sense this variation in time. And so anyway, it's a great question, but again, I don't want people to get wrapped up. The idea that somehow being spiritual means that you've achieved some kind of whatever it is, I'm far more interested in consciousness. For me, spirituality has to do with consciousness and awareness. The other stuff is the bells and whistles. So, to answer your question, I don't know for you how much you've accomplished and how much you haven't, but when you achieve it, you know it. But that won't, don't let that stop you from doing whatever it is that you do. What else? No more questions? Soul Blade question. Is there a mudra for lightning? So Soul Blade, welcome to the channel. I'm assuming that you haven't done any of my practices, you don't have any of my books, you don't have any of my videos, you're not signed up or subscribed anywhere. There are multiple mudras for this, and I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to do that in there. So the answer to your question is there isn't just one mudra, there's many mudras for that lightning. Anyway. All right, I don't see any more questions here, so we can leave it at that. Again, my plan is that going forward on where I'm at today, it's Saturday. I know where most of you are, it's still Friday. So Saturday, Pacific time, Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, my plan is to have this live broadcast, and I'm looking into broadcasting on multiple platforms. Doesn't mean that I won't be doing live like I do now. I just come on and do it whenever the hell. I'll still do live videos whenever the hell I feel like it, but I'm gonna work towards committing to Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, rain or shine. Another question. So if you have a question, if you're watching, now's the time to ask them, because if there aren't any questions, then I'll go do something else. Native Psychic Services question. Would it be safe to say the kind represent what, e.g. demon or god? and the heart is God, I don't know what you're asking, because I can't make heads or tails of just even the sentence here. I don't know. I get that you're trying to ask me a question about demon energy versus divine energy, but I don't understand the question. So try again. Yeah. So I don't know what you're asking me. So Native Psychic Services, I don't know how much of, again, my material you're actually working on. So I would love to have as many viewers as I can come and watch. I obviously would love for my videos to go through the roof and have millions of views. But if you've noticed, if you've watched, the majority of the questions that people ask are people who aren't doing the work. So they haven't done the meditations, they're not subscribed, they haven't gotten any of the books, and so they have tons of questions that are all over the place. And you'll notice that I either don't have an answer, I might give a limited answer, I might even get annoyed. So Native Services, if you're just watching this channel, you're just getting like 1% of what it is that I'm offering. So I would encourage you to, if for nothing else, go onto my channel and watch my playlists. But most importantly, do the work. So, I mean, just for instance, if somebody's just coming on here, you can do the Hool breath, okay? Do that for an hour a day. You can, start there. Just, that'll tap you into the lineage that I work with, that'll tap you into the kind of energy. Then you'll start to have, your mind will start going into the places that I teach. It's not just kind of this, new age free-for-all kind of stuff. It's really about doing the work. You can do that. You can go on to the playlists and look at the Qigong. There is Thor's hammer, Qigong. Again, it frustrates me, but the best way to be able to know how to find these things is if you know how to go to my YouTube site. So the YouTube site is the thunderwizard.com, spelled out. Thunderwizard, DOTCOM. Go there, find even just go onto YouTube and type in Thunderwizard. You'll see my YouTube page come up. Go to my YouTube page. And then on the second level there, click on the magnifying glass and type in whatever it is you want. Do you want to learn how to meditate? Do you want to do Qigong? Do you want to learn about Kundalini? Do you want to learn about demons, exorcisms? Type in whatever thing you want so you can learn about it. Because one of the things, people come on here and they ask me questions of stuff I've spent tens of hours talking about already. So if you haven't already done that, do that. And ask whatever questions you want. But my suggestion to everybody is to pick an exercise and do it every single day. Do the Hool breath. Do Thor's hammer Qigong, or do the heaven earth Qigong meditation. I mean, there's just no shortage of things. There's mantras on here. Mantra meditation. Do something. Do something on a daily basis, because that's going to get that monkey mind from wanting to ask all the questions. Instead of coming in with, whatever your thing is that you've got, you'll know what it is that I teach, and I'll be able to answer your questions better. But really, it's about doing the work. It's not just about coming on whenever I'm live and then wanting to listen to me and intellectualize about what I'm thinking. As fun as that is, that's really not what we're doing here. So she says, no, where's that? Yeah, so your question, again, I don't understand it. Would the mind be demeanor, God energy, or heart is demon or God energy? Again, that question tells me you haven't done the work. That question tells me you don't even know what to ask. Don't take this personally. Until you do the work, you won't know what questions to ask. It's an intellectual question. It's got no real applicable power in in terms of how energy works. So again, I recommend you do the work first. You're welcome on the channel. I love you being here, but do the work and then you'll know a lot of these things without even having to ask. Brenda Perez, I do. Example of facing your fears. What I do. What you do what? Also, you know, when people leave stuff, don't think that I know what the context of. I said something a half an hour ago that you're responding to. I don't know what I do means. I do what? You know, you got to fill me in, otherwise I don't know what you're talking about. Example of facing your fears would be quitting a job you don't longer enjoy. Okay, I don't know what that has to do with what I'm talking about. I didn't talk about that. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, Brenda Perez, welcome. Are you doing the work? This channel is about all of the exercises and the meditations that I teach. It's not about us sitting around having a beer at the bar and talking in general about facing your fears. It's not what I'm doing here. Again, I hope you don't get your feelings hurt. I want you guys to do the work. I want to change you, not me personally. I want you to do the exercises that will change your energy, will change your mind and open you up to this stuff. Okay? So do the I invite you to do the exercises if you want. Dabbler Deluxe question, does the Hool breath develop the shin heart also? Yes. Or is it only about grounding in the lower dantian? No. One of the things that you know, when you go through, if you've watched the video, you know, I have you sit in a certain way and hold your arms out like you're going to push yourself up from a bench. I tell you to open up the, you know, underneath the armpit there. What that does is that opens up meridians that go all the way to the heart. I tell you to you know, there are multiple ways to do it, but one is to, on the exhale, send the energy from the heart out the hands. Also, I tell you to bring energy up from the ground, up through the palms into the heart. So you are tapping into the heart mind. Okay? You're opening up all kinds of things. You're opening up the earth element through the meridian that goes to the heart mind. So the heart mind, there's 5 elements even in the heart mind. And depending on what finger you're stimulating and what part of the hand and all that kind of stuff, that opens it all up. Okay? That's what I mean. We're not just talking here. You can't open up the heart mind just by thinking about it. It's not some idea. This isn't a new age channel where we sit around and talk about, yes, and I operate from the heart mind, and yes, I have no ego. That's not what I'm doing here. It's like going to a gym and wanting to, you know, be Mr. Olympia by sitting around talking about how to lift weights. You actually have to go and lift the weights. And then you start to know what questions you ask. Then you start to, right? Like what was asked already about does the Hool breath develop the heart mind? That's a practical question that I can answer because it's a practice that I teach. Native Psychic Services, I'm just doing my path on my own, not following any specific practice. Well, again, then all that's going to happen is we're just going to be stuck in our heads talking about stuff. This power that I'm talking about is not an intellectual exercise. That's the good news. It means anybody can do it. But you have to do the postures, you have to do the breathing, you would have to do the mantra. There's a science to this. This is a science. We live in a physical universe that responds to physical levers and cues. So I'm glad that you're here, but again, this is just all head talk. This is why I'm not talking about you specifically, Native Psychic Services, but this is why we've got tons of people out there who sit around and smoke weed all day and talk about spiritual things and nothing happens in their life. You know, that's not what we're doing here. This is magic. Magic means we are using the levers of the body. We use the words that we speak. We use the 9 directions. We use physical things. We tap into these physical things to actually have an experience. So if you want to go beyond just having your own path and not following a practice, which I don't know how far that's going to get you, if you want to get some real power and that having that power change you and feel what that's like, I invite you to, I've already given out. Start with the Hool breath. Do that. So that's my challenge to you, Native Psychic Services. Do that for an hour a day. Go ahead, light some candles. You can even play the video of me making the sound. You can hear me with the music and you can chant along with it. Do that for an hour a day and then come back and start telling me what's been going on. Trust me, it'll be a huge shift. You'll start to see what we're talking about here. And then you'll want to do more, and then you'll be able to ask questions about what I'm teaching. As opposed to questions like the one I saw where I said, I don't know what to do with that, because it's just an intellectual question. It's not attached to anything in terms of this physical practice that we're doing. Let's see. Brenda Perez, if you have a question, write the word question, because if there's a bunch of people here, I won't know what's going on. Say, that seems more exciting than doing something you don't like going, okay, all right. Fim Sampi CG question, when I do the celestial Qigong, so if you guys don't know what that is, you can go to spirittao.com, and he's talking about the celestial Qigong. So the two things you're going to need in order to get the nervous system and the meridians prepared for the power that is coming through these more advanced yet simple exercises that I'm going to be teaching you. In order to get that going, you're going to have to do two things. First one is the celestial Qigong. So you can go to spirittao.com to get that. You can also get that in the lockdown package for free, which, since people are still in lockdown, I still have it. Lockdown.thunderwizard.com. You can go there and get the celestial Qigong for free within that package. You're going to need the celestial Qigong, and you're going to need the Warrior 90-Day Challenge Lightning Qigong. Those two things are essential. I can tell you from practical experience, if you go straight into the advanced stuff without opening up and strengthening the nerves and the meridians and just getting your psyche ready for it, it's like being abducted by aliens. It's an experience that is not pleasant. You can blow out some fuses. So you got to get the body prepared. And so those are the two things. He's talking about celestial Qigong. He says, when I do the celestial Qigong, I feel some buzzing feeling in my fingertips. Are these feelings energy? Yes. Reason I ask is I'm not sure if I felt energy or not. Yes. So that is one of the things that will happen, especially sometimes when you bring the fingertips together. You'll feel like, these little jolts of lightning going between your fingertips. You don't have to feel that, but sometimes they do. Like I said, I can't bring like my hand too close to my head. If I bring like here, I can feel it. If I bring just my hand this far away from my third eye, it gets pretty crazy. So there are practices that you can do to open up the third eye, which I'll be teaching some stuff that's being downloaded about how to use once you've opened up the Lao Gong point. And you can feel it, and other people will feel it. There was one time when I was just holding my hand probably this far away. I don't know if you can see that. I was holding my hand just like this far away. This was the guy's body. My hand was up here. And I was the guy didn't know what I was doing. He was a friend of mine. And I had my hand over his back and I was just holding my hand there. And I started just thinking about, that energy. And all of a sudden you heard this, and he went, ah! And he said, why did you hit me? I said, I swear I didn't touch you. He didn't believe me. So when you open up this Lao Gong point, you can really transfer energy. So for healers, all that kind of stuff, this is really, really powerful stuff, and this is why you've got to be conscious of it. Sorry, by the way, I'm looking at myself here, and I look horrible. I went surfing yesterday. I was in the water for 4 hours in Australia in the middle of the summer, and I had all this goop all over me, to keep the sun off of my head, and I didn't put it right here. And believe it or not, I got burned right here. I put some stuff on it so you can't see it, but this is all like red right there, and my eyeballs, my eyeballs got burned. So that's, if I look like I'm, stoned or something, that's why. But holy crap, man! The sun here is crazy. Anyway, I won't be doing that again. I'll be making sure to be wearing my hat and make sure that I put, stuff everywhere from now on. I'll never let that happen again. But I'm really grateful that I at least had something on, because if I had been out there that long, I think I'd be in the hospital right now. All right. So Brenda Perez, when you have a question, all I need for you to do, if you look up to Fear Sample CG, you see how he wrote question in all caps and then he just wrote the question? That's what I need. Today is not a big deal, but sometimes, and especially if I get doing this regular, you're going to see there's going to be tons of people on there, and I'm just going to be reading the questions. I won't be looking at people's thoughts. So you say, I do have a question, and I apologize, irrelevant to the subject. I just jumped to the live. Thank you. What was that about? Okay, I don't know what that was about. Native Psychic Services. Question, yup. Done that feeling of alien abduction. And so this isn't going to work. You say, what I hear you saying is that you know what I'm talking about. And you've done that. And I don't know, but I'm almost 99.9% certain that you don't know what I'm talking about. So it's your ego wanting me to tell me that you are at my level and you know, and if that's the case, you don't need to be here. If you've already learned this, you don't need to be on this channel. This is a channel for people who haven't done it yet. I'm pretty sure that you haven't. But until you do the work, you won't know. So my challenge to you, Native Psychic Services, I'm giving you the easiest challenge. It's free. I've already told you what to do. Go on to my channel and look at the video for the Huul breath, H-U-U-L. Do that every day for an hour. Do that every day for an hour for a month. Then come back and tell me that you've already done it. In which case I'll say, thanks for stopping by. Plenty of other channels. You're welcome to be here. You obviously don't need to interact with me. I want to teach people who haven't done this. And I'm here to tell you that this stuff that I'm teaching, to my knowledge, has not been taught publicly. And I know the difference between, some of the stuff out there and this stuff. So if you think you've already done it, this isn't the place for you. I want to help you learn if that's what you want. So let's say, done that, the feeling of alien abduction and transmuting, I must say it's a trip for sure. How to repair after that. So again, I don't think we're talking about the same thing. I think you're talking about something else. The best questions you're going to have are going to be questions about stuff that I teach. You'll notice there's a difference. When somebody asks about stuff that I teach because they've done it, you'll see I have a direct answer to them. You ask questions and I don't know what you're asking. It means we're on two different wavelengths. Doesn't mean your wavelength is wrong. It just means that I'm not on that. So that's not what we're doing here. Okay? So anyway, if you want to do that work, you're free to do it. Let's see what else. I don't know what that person is saying. Native Psychic Services again. Question, is there a truth to connection to the spirit realm as I get connection to messages about current people that passed over the imprint of energy? So Native Psychic Services again, what is it that you want to accomplish with these questions? Just sit for a second. You don't have to answer. Just sit with it. We're now going to do some critical thinking. The sense that I get is that you want some support in what you do. You want somebody to support and say to you, like in other words, you want me to say, yes, you're very spiritually advanced because what you've described is very powerful. And is that really helpful for you? My suggestion for you, hold off on the questions until you've done the work that I'm suggesting, and then see if there's a difference. See if it gives you a new experience you've never had. And then you'll have different questions. It's not that I want to try and silence anybody. It's just that your questions don't feel relevant to me in this channel. It sounds like something if we were to sit together and have a beer at a bar and we were to be friends and battle back and forth about I did this and you did that, and it's a way of connecting. So are you on this channel because you want to connect personally, emotionally, or are you on this channel because you want to learn a new spiritual science that will take you to a new or a different level? Okay? I'd like for you to think practically. You're asking me, how do you come back from the psychic realm I'm trapped in? So get prepared. You're probably not going to like what I'm going to say. What you're talking about is a psychological scenario. So again, critical thinking. I would say that you feel isolated to me, emotionally and psychologically isolated. I'm going to tell you again, you're not going to like hearing this. I think a lot of the reason that you like to go and to do psychic things is because it's an escape. It's an escape from emotions that you carry with you, that feeling that you're different, that feeling of being spiritual, of I don't belong here, I don't belong with this world, I'm different than other people. I think that has as much to do with a psychological state of being, that there's some unresolved emotional pain that is driving your need to be a spiritual person. So, I could be wrong. So how do you come back from that? You've got to be willing to look at your feelings. You got to, work with a counselor, work with a therapist, work with a mentor. That's why I have apprenticeships, so that I can talk with people and help them, and either help them with the practice or help them personally. I think you'd benefit from that. So anyway. Again, I hope I haven't hurt your feelings with that, but again, I think you're going to get more out of this channel if you do the work. Do the practices, and then we'll have more to talk about. All right, I don't see any more questions here, so to sum up, thunderwizard.com, as you see at the top there, all of these links are there for a reason. That's, again, the whole point of this channel is to get you to do the work. If you don't want to pay, fine. I have free stuff all over the place on this channel. Do the free stuff, the free Qigong, the free meditation, the free mantra. They're all over the place on this channel. You just got to put the time and effort to find them. Pick one. You can do the Indra, I forget what it's called, the Indra, the Web of Indra mantra. You can do that one. Right? You can do the Web of Indra mantra. Do that once a day. You can do the Hool breath. You can do that for 10 minutes a day, half an hour a day, an hour a day. You can do the Thor's Qigong. There are so many practices that I have here on the free channel that you can do. I want you to do those things. If you if you don't know where to start and you don't know what to do, that's what thunderwizard.com is all about. If you go to thunderwizard.com, and you subscribe even at the entry level, the Mastery of Shamanism, I will take you from point A to point Z. So you'll know exactly what to do. I talk to you about ritual. I talk to you about how the energy works so that you're not just trying things willy-nilly. Well, let's light a candle and see what happens. No, I tell you exactly what to do. You want to work with the forces of the 5 elements? I tell you what to do. You want to know which direction to face? I tell you what to do. You want to work with runes? You want to work with breath? You want to work with energy, you want to manifest things, magic, I tell you exactly what to do from A to Z. Go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at that level. You want to learn how to manifest reality. You want to learn how to use this practice of critical thinking to change your interaction with the matrix so that you can get the matrix to create the life that you want. There's the Manifestation Mastery course, which also gives you access to everything beneath it. And then we have the 90-day challenge, which is this sorcery practice of the heart mind and the opening of the 3 ones and working with the 5 elements to help you to become this immortal being. And you'll have access to everything below that. But let me be clear, this is a study, a practice. You have to do something. If not, if you don't want to go through all that, do, like I said, any one of these practices once a day, every day. That's my challenge to you. And then, after 3 months, come back and we'll have something to talk about. Having said that, you're welcome to watch any video, of course. Let's see what else. Okay, Vincent.thunderwizard.com is grateful. He's has taken my advice to seek therapy, and he's excited to go do that. All right, so that's the thunderwizard.com, and then you have the courses.thunderwizard.com, which has all of my books, my videos, all of my teaching. Go there. Astrology readings, rune readings, everything you can imagine. All of my many services is at courses.thunderwizard.com. If you want to have an energy transmission from me, really not just me, but the guides that I work with, you can go to energyhealing.thunderwizard.com. I'm starting to do that, and I will give you specific instructions. What will happen is when you do that, and you go to energyhealing.thunderwizard.com, and if you purchase that, I will send you a practice to either do with me and or do on your own. It's actually a very powerful meditative practice that I'm wanting you to do it with me if you want to align yourself to the transmission. But even if you just did that practice that I'm going to give you, that in and of itself would be well worth it. So you can go to energyhealing.thunderwizard.com for that. That's the energy transmission, which will give you this heart-mind energy that I'm talking about. It will at least open you up, and your guides and my guides can figure out exactly what that's going to be for you. And then, of course, we have the 90-day challenge at thunderwizard.com. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the bell button, and hit the like. Smash the like button because that helps me. Also, take these videos and post them on your social media, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your wherever else you can post it. My goal is to get 1,000 people doing the 90-day challenge, the lightning Qigong. I want 1,000 people. Eventually where I want to go is we're going to get together as a group doing live stuff, and we will send our intention together. We'll get in a certain posture, and maybe who knows what we'll do. Do the whole breath together, we'll do something. And then we can influence the collective unconscious of the world. Because we are at a crossroads. The human race is at a crossroads. It either needs to level up to the next level, because if it doesn't, we're going to head towards another dark ages. We're right there. I mean, there are things that are happening right now where democracy and society as we know it is on the verge of complete collapse. I can see it coming if things don't change. If people's consciousness does not change, that's where we're headed. So I want to do my part to help the human race bump up to the next level. So you can put that in your intentions. I want to get 1,000 people doing the lightning Qigong and working towards that. And we can do that together. All right, let me see if there's any last minute thoughts or questions. I don't see any. Nope. All right, so that's it, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. And I will probably see you again tomorrow. All right, I'm going to go sleep. I'm tired. All right, take it easy, and I'll see you, like I said, probably tomorrow.